they did it. They cast all 4 members of the Fantastic Four, and not just in some press release or something like that, a fun image giving us a sense for who these characters are, what they're going to look like, what time period they're going to be set in. It's a lot. I want to say, first of all, this was the first big fan casting video I did, was Fantastic Four. I started in January of 2022. It has been more than 2 years since I made my video delivering this information. However, a lot of these cast members have been leaked for a while. Specifically, around November of 2023, we got a lot of the information. It did really seem like they were finalizing details, and maybe someone just had this really good idea of putting it out on Valentine's Day with this image, and they decided to go with it. I'm not sure why, but I just want to say, it is wild to me how long this has been. But I wanted to make a video, just to be done with casting the Fantastic Four specifically. This is the final one of these we're gonna do. Maybe I'll do another video about the cast when the movie comes out. I don't know. But as far as the main 4 members of the Fantastic Four, we are closing the book on that casting. I am so happy. I know I don't look happy, but I just saw Madam Web. I've already done a video where I've talked about all of these cast members before, but now that it's official, I want to do 2 things. 1, we'll look at how my picks compare to the actual cast, and I want to look at this image we got for Marvel, see what we can learn. So let's start with Reed. Pedro Pascal. This was one we heard about very late in the game, but it had been essentially confirmed twice. His talent agency, I believe, put something out. And then I want to say the director of Fantastic Four, I think Matt Shackman, put something out on Twitter or liked something on Instagram. It doesn't matter. But whatever it was it's him. Now, he is the one, I will say, out of the 4 that I am the least sure on. Not because I don't think he will do a good job, just because I don't know exactly what his casting means. There are other people we'll talk about where I think you can look at the casting and go, oh, that's what we're getting. Great. And other ones where you go, I think I see how that guy is going to fit into that role. But Reed is a very complicated character. They've done a lot of different things with him. And Pedro Pascal is an actor who is known for playing a couple of different kinds of characters. He's known for playing gruff dads who take care of a little child. And he's known for playing charismatic action badasses. And Maxwell Lord from the Wonder Woman movie. Those, I would say, the 3 kinds of characters we know him from. Now, none of those things that I said would describe Reed Richards exclusively, right? None of them are, oh, that's the Reed they're gonna get. I don't know if this performance is going to be closer to Wonder Woman 84 or Game of Thrones. I think I get a sense for it now that we've seen the image, but just in general with Pedro Pascal, I think there's a lot of room for interpretation here. I think he's a very good actor. I think he's very popular. There are a lot of people who, now that Pedro Pascal is in this, are excited about it in a way that they were not before. So that's always good. And I do think he is an actor who has surprised us. I don't think we saw The Mandalorian and then Last of Us. Those characters did not feel like the logical next step from Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones. But he's obviously been really effective in those roles. So I think giving him a shot, giving him the benefit of the doubt here, absolutely. On a scale of, let's say, 1 to 4, in terms of 4 being absolute 100% great casting and 1 being absolutely 100% bad casting, I'd say he's a solid 2.5 in terms of fine. No strong feelings really yet. I like him a lot, but we'll see. And in my original video, I looked at a lot of different actors and I landed on the good places William Jackson Harper. This was before we knew that he was going to be Quaz in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I think that pick was still good. He's definitely not the same vibe as Pedro Pascal. William Jackson Harper to me feels like a different kind of Reed than Pedro Pascal, because William Jackson Harper, at least the way I know him from The Good Place, is capable of playing a very effective nerd. And I don't think Pedro Pascal is known for that. I'm sure he can do it, but these characters are more normal, salt-of-the-earth guys. That's something that I do think connects most of the Pedro Pascal characters. So I do think that tells you a little bit something about this Reed Richards. He's going to be more of an action-adventure type hero. Maybe a throwback to Johnny Quest or Buck Rogers or something like that. I don't know. But William Jackson Harper, I think would have ruled. And while I don't think this is in response specifically to the video, but William Jackson Harper did say that people have been fan casting him as Reed Richards for a little while. And I think he said he appreciates it. but he doesn't think Marvel is listening, and if that's the case, that is fine. However, I do remember hearing an interview with Sarah Finn where she does say that while they don't like seek out fan castings, that information does get to them, and maybe that does affect the process in a way that's positive or negative, or who knows. I have no idea. But I will say, like, it's a bummer. I think William Jackson Harper would have been a great Reed Richards, but I am excited for Pedro Pascal. Again, solid 2.5. Next up, Vanessa Kirby, Sue Storm, Invisible Woman. I think that's a great pick. This is the one we have known about for the longest. This one was leaked a while ago, and she's been asked about it a couple times, and she always looks and goes, wouldn't that be fun? And it's like, good, all right, solid. Margot Robbie apparently was close in this role, and it seemed like either she passed or like the two of them were up for it, and I think either of them would have been, you know, fantastic Sue Storms. I think that because those were two of like the top three that I picked. My main pick for this one in the original video was Claire Foy, but I did say, I was very clear, like, these last bunch of them are a toss-up. And I believe my last two were Vanessa Kirby and Claire Foy. So, not saying I nailed it, but I am saying like that was pretty good. And I do think she's a solid Sue Storm. Vanessa Kirby has a lot of range. She's been in a lot of prestige movies and also Hobbs and Shaw, so she'll do all kinds of stuff. I think she has the Sue Storm look, and I do think she can give off that energy, that confidence, that kind of able to be whatever everybody needs her to be. Like, she's the mother, she's the older sister, she's the wife. Like, there's a lot of, Sue Storm wears a lot of hats in the Fantastic Four team, in a way that like Johnny doesn't really. Like, she is almost a glue that holds the team together. So I think Vanessa Kirby can handle that. I am excited about her pick. I would say she's a solid 3, maybe 3.5 out of 4. Then you have the Human Torch. The pick here was Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things. Now, I will say, I did not pick Joseph Quinn. My pick was Manny Jacinto, who I still think would have been awesome. But Joseph Quinn became famous during season 4 of Stranger Things. That was not out when I made my pick. He was not a guy on people's radar. Yes, obviously he was acting. He was someone that, you know, had a career. But I don't think that most people looking back in 2002 would have picked him as the ideal Johnny Storm. Like, I do think he is the only actor here with something to prove. Not that he needs to prove something to us, but I guess with our Reeds and our Sues and our Bens, which we'll get to, we had good ones, we had bad ones. Like, some of them worked, some of them didn't in the original movies. I don't think people are incredibly attached to one version or the other. However, I do think Human Torch is the only character that worked in both movies. Chris Evans and Michael B. Jordan were both good Johnny Storms. They had that big energy. They were the fun younger brother who was causing trouble. Like, I think they both nailed it. They both made those movies immensely watchable. Honestly, I think, like, looking back, I wouldn't like recommend someone watch the 2005 Fantastic Four because I think it's like so great. But I do think because of stuff like Chris Evans' performance, it's fun. It's a fun trip, and that's what Johnny is for. Obviously, he's got a lot of heart, and there's a lot of other things he's going to need to do, but especially in this first movie, he's supposed to be the troublemaking younger brother who gets the superpower that's cool and everybody likes it, and he is a really strong contrast to Ben. And at the same time, you know, he'll probably have to learn some lesson about being serious. I haven't really talked about this yet, so I should do this now. Pedro Pascal is currently 48. That is his age. I think it's a fine age for a Reed. This will be more important as we kind of move on. Vanessa Kirby is 35, so she is 13 years younger than Pedro Pascal. Do I think that age gap can work? Yeah, I think this has been something of a debate, I believe, in the comics, or like this has been changed, where sometimes there is a larger age gap between Reed and Sue, and sometimes there's not. But like obviously the characters work with one, so I don't see this being a humongous problem. Would I like them to have been the same age? Yeah, probably would have made it a little bit easier, but I don't think this is going to be a big issue, mostly because I do think Vanessa Kirby is also good at playing a character. Like, I think if she is supposed to seem like someone who's like, say 38, a little bit closer, I think she can do it. And I think Pedro Pascal, if they want to play him a little bit younger, I think they can do that too. And Joseph Quinn is 30, so that makes him 5 years younger than Vanessa Kirby or Sue. And he's 18 years younger than Pedro Pascal. That's interesting. These two characters are not even from the same generation. And I don't know if they usually are, but like imagine the Fantastic movie, Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan might as well be the same age. Young Griffith and Chris Evans, I would say there's probably maybe a 6 or 7 year age gap is what I'm guessing. So this 18 years, that's pretty significant. But one thing I like is I like that this Johnny is undeniably young. Like, he is so much younger than the rest of these guys. I think the image that accompanied this announcement really helped to sell me on Joseph Quinn as Johnny. But just looking back at Stranger Things and that season where Eddie Munson just like took over. Everybody loved him. He was very, very good. He was very fun to watch. He's very charming, charismatic. I've seen him in interviews. I think he can do this. I guess I just don't know exactly what his Johnny is going to look like, but I think he can do it. Also, he's like 3 years older than Tom Holland, who's 27. Johnny and Peter are supposed to be kind of contemporaries. I don't know if they're always the same age or around there, but they are good friends in the comics. So the idea that these two characters are about the same age is good. Although in reality, the Spider-Man in the MCU just graduated high school, even though he is clearly in his late 20s. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. If they'll time jump him and just have him be like 28-year-old Peter Parker, I have no idea. But just in general, Joseph Quinn, I think good. So for Johnny, between 1 to 4, I would say he's another 2.5 for Joseph Quinn. I like him. I think he's good. I think he's got potential. I'm not like fully seeing it, but I believe he can get there. Again, none of these castings I think are bad. But I do think compared to Vanessa Kirby, it's like a little less obvious. And then compared to Ebon Moss-Backrack as Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, like that is a 4 out of 4. That is as good as these are going to get. He is another one who was not on people's radar when I made this original video. The Bear had not come out yet. Yes, he was in The Punisher and I believe Girls. I don't think he was in Andor yet. So a lot of roles that people know him from right now were not available to me. I think that he is a fantastic pick. Ebon's energy on the Bear is perfect, like Ben Grimm. Like obviously he's gonna be a little bit less abrasive, but this, you know, protective, down to earth, like guy from the city who solves his problems with his fists, like not incredibly bright, but not dumb, and with a heart of gold, like that is Richie and that is Ben. I think this casting is phenomenal. Also love that he's Jewish. That's nice. We have a Jewish Ben Grimm. That's always a plus. My pick for this was Alden Ehrenreich from Solo and Oppenheimer. I think he would have been fine. I do think Ebon Moss-Backrack is objectively better than my pick. He's the one who I'm like, that's better. We can do better. Honestly, he sounds so like a guy from the neighborhood. And I'm just really happy. I'm excited for him. Seems like a cool actor. Again, another person who I've seen in interviews. And that is nice. Like these 4 people are going to be the face of this humongous franchise. They're going to be doing interviews. They're going to be, you know, visiting kids in hospitals and stuff. And they all seem very professional, likable, you know, people, which, you know, that doesn't mean that like they're all angels who are never going to get in any trouble for doing anything. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know, there's something about seeing this guy and wanting to root for him, especially Ebon Moss-Backrack. And I think that applies to definitely him and Pedro Pascal for a lot of people. Some casting announcements we did not get. No Doctor Doom. There is not even any guarantee he's in the movie. It does not seem like he's going to play a humongous role. No Galactus, which is interesting because this was the name that was always attached to the other 4 characters. So like we didn't get a lot of rumored Doctor Dooms, but the rumored Galactuses were Antonio Banderas and then Javier Bardem. I'm not sure if there were others, and it seems like that either one of those could have been the real one, and maybe they're waiting on that announcement, but that we didn't get any confirmation on. No Silver Surfer, Herald of Galactus character, the one that was rumored to be Anya Taylor-Joy. It could be anybody. Like, we don't know any of that. No Earthbound villains either. No Mole Man, no Wizard, no Mad Thinker, none of that. And then, no other members of the Fantastic Four's like family. No Franklin, no Valeria, none of the kids. No Franklin Storm, no Dad, and no Alicia Masters, no Frankie Ray, none of the girlfriends, nobody like that. So honestly, I like that they kept it tight. It was 4 characters. They were not introducing a humongous cast. There aren't like characters peeking in through the announcement in the window. We're like hiding lots and lots of cameos. So I think overall, this is a great way to announce this. I will say, doing it on one of the days where I take a nap in the middle of the day, I don't appreciate that, but you know what? Nobody's perfect. Now let's look at the image. This was shared by Marvel. It was an official Marvel thing. Honestly, I saw it, thought it was fan art or something. Not because it didn't look professional, but because it just didn't. Like I've kind of been taught now, especially by being part of the internet, by seeing anything with a Fantastic Four guy with somebody's face on it and going, that's obviously a fake. Or yeah, that's Pedro Pascal's head on John Krasinski's body from Doctor Strange. Also, I guess I'll mention, not John Krasinski. I think that's fine. I didn't love him. I think it would have been okay, but I think it was a little too on the nose, honestly. So what we got? This is fantastic. Happy Valentine's Day message from the Fantastic Four themselves, I guess. It features Ben, Johnny, Sue, and Reed. There are a lot of things you can focus on here. I'm going to say, first one, The most important one for me, we got the robot. When I saw this, I was like, oh my God, we're really doing it. The first set of movies, I don't think did any Herby stuff, but I know the second one, the Fantafor stick, had a concept image for a Herby. They had a couple of them, but one that I actually really liked was a Herby that was sitting on a basketball, I believe, and like kind of seemed to, balance on that. It was a really cool image. I'll put it up, here it is. But the idea that Herby is in this movie, honestly, already I'm sold. And Herbies will be sold, much like Baby Yodas. So that I'm sure will make them a lot of money. I will want a Herby. It will cost way too much money. We need these videos to be, so incredibly successful that I could just blow money on big Herby, I guess like statues or dolls or whatever they'll end up being. For people that don't know, Herby was a character introduced. Well, I mean, character was like a robot, but it was like a little robot friend, pet, kind of fourth member of the Fantastic Four in the cartoon because Johnny was not in the cartoon. There was a rumor that I heard growing up as a kid that Herby was in the Fantastic Four show from the 70s, this one from 1978 called The New Fantastic Four, because they didn't want Johnny Storm to be in the show because they were scared kids were going to set themselves on fire. That is not true. It would be very interesting if that was true, and especially if they thought they were, like someone kid was watching it at like a test screening and they're like, yeah, I want to set myself on fire. I'm like, what? But in reality, Marvel and whoever's making this cartoon didn't want to use Johnny because they wanted to do something else, some sort of solo spin-off thing. So they had to add a fourth member. It can't be the Fantastic Three, and it ended up being Herby, who was this little helpful robot friend. He has an acronym that stands for Humanoid Experimental Robot B-Type Integrated Electronics. So that is what we in the business call a backronym. They started with Herby and figured it out. But either way, Herby represents to me the sillier side of the Fantastic Four. And the Fantastic Four are quite a silly team. I think parts of the movies that did kind of work for me, especially the original Fantastic Four movies from 2005, were the sillier bits. Like the bit where Johnny went skiing and burned off all his clothes and landed in a big puddle of water that kind of turned into a hot tub, and the sexy nurse from earlier saw him and was like, oh, okay. Or the bit where Johnny and Ben are fighting is another one from the first Fantastic Four movie from 2005. I keep saying that. I'm never going to be talking about the Roger Corman one, so just if you ever are like, is he? No. So in that bit they're fighting, Ben punches Johnny, and Johnny hits a billboard that is for a BK Burger King flame broiled Whopper. It's just a regular Whopper, and he hits it right in the Whopper and lights it on fire a little bit as he falls down. And it's like they flame broiled it in the thing. Like dumb stuff like that, I think can be what the Fantastic Four is for. Yes, they've been this team that's very serious and talking about morality of certain scientific experiments, things like that. They've been dealing with super gods from the edge of the universe who are trying to wipe out all mankind. But they also fight them all, man, as weird little mole guys. They have a very varied group, and you can do a lot of different things with them. So I like that this is not necessarily not a darker take on the Fantastic Four, but that this Fantastic Four movie seems to be acknowledging all of it, and Herby is like a signifier of that. It makes me very happy to see him. He will be a lot of people's favorite, outside of Star Wars, like droid character, for sure. Other thing that's important, big one that stands out to you, the look of the thing is fantastic. Like this looks exactly, if they are able to translate this, what they're showing us onto the screen, this will be the best looking one of these. And I think I'm totally cool with a largely CGI character. Like I think we tend to romanticize like practical stuff. I think a lot of times practical stuff is good. But for something this complex, like have him on set, put him on stilts or whatever, use a ping pong ball suit, but like if you want to make him look like the thing, it's got to be animated to some extent. I love that he's wearing clothes. They didn't have him wear any clothes in the Fantastic movie. That was super weird. Like, I like that this thing is a human. He's wearing a sweater, a pair of jeans. Like, he seems like a guy. Love Johnny in here, sitting cool way, like Mario Lopez on the chair. I think his, like, blonde hair and this look, I can see it. Like, I could see this being Johnny Storm. It is the one visually that I'm not quite as sold on, but I do think this really captures the spirit of Johnny. Also him focusing on Ben, who's like reading a magazine. You can tell he's trying to like poke a little fun at Ben or something. That I like that. And he's trying to ignore whatever's happening on the other side of the room, which is Reed Richards and Sue Storm, his sister, are just like dancing or whatever. I think this is interesting. I love that they did the white temples for Pedro Pascal's hair. I think those look fantastic. I think it's interesting that he still has a mustache. Part of me was like, if they pick him, I wonder if they'll just get rid of it, because that's not something Mr. Fantastic is known for, but it looks like they're going with it. Fine. Vanessa Kirby, like she looks in real life, looks just like Sue Storm. And I think that this idea that they are like a happy couple who's having fun, and obviously I don't think the movie will be, there will be no drama. But I do think that this will not be a joyless, like, oh man, these guys are being tormented and their marriage is falling apart. Like, it does feel like they're having fun. They're enjoying this. Let's talk about the suits. You don't really see too much of Ben. Johnny seems to be wearing like what the Venture Brothers would call a speed suit. But then you have Sue and Reed in Fantastic Four suits that look like some combination of like a very early spacesuit mixed with, honestly, like a sweater. It's not super clear. It doesn't look like is this over designed or anything like that. It doesn't have all those Marvel lines. I would say it kind of feels like the top and bottom pieces are different, where the top is this more fabricy because you have like the turtleneck that Reed has. I like that Reed and Sue have different kinds of turtlenecks here. His is the blue, hers is the white. I do think I like that the most. I think Sue's costume in general, that is what they go with. That's the best one. Love the big 4 emblem in the center of their chest. I think it could be maybe a little bit bigger, but I just like that there is a 4 emblem. I think the belt is nice, the white belt, and I think the boots are great. Like, these boots feel so stylish and yet somewhat functional. You could see them being part of their space suits and super suits, but at the same time, you're like, someone cool made those for them. In the Marvel universe, that'd be the Wasp or something like that, because she's a fashion designer. But in this, I don't know. Willie Lumpkin, the mailman. Other stuff very important. This cover of the Time magazine that Ben appears to be reading seems to be a 1963 cover of Time magazine with Lyndon Johnson on the cover. If that is true, that means this movie probably takes place in 1969, or at least somewhat does, which would make sense because that is, like, stylistically, that feels right in line with what this image is. In fact, the Marvel Studios logo even looks a little different than usual. This is maybe I don't know, is this the first time we've ever seen this? Some sort of promotional art from Marvel, like official stuff, where they changed the Marvel logo. I think that looks great. Again, this is just stuff that tells you about the character of this. Also, this is important. What a gorgeous blue. The blue on the Fantastic Four costumes is perfect. It's light and vibrant. I love it. Obviously, there's a lot of pink in this image. That's probably because of Valentine's Day. But I do think it has a nice contrast with the blue. Other important things. I don't know. People think this might be a period piece. I think that's possible. People think this might exist in its own universe. The Fantastic Four universe, much like Madam Web, is to the spunk. This will be to the MCU, but part of this movie will involve them traveling to our universe. Now, I'm half and half on that. On one hand, I think it could be cool because it could set them up as their own thing. They could be from the 60s, a world without superheroes. They can have a very different vibe, and that will be interesting. On the other hand, it's like, if they stay in the MCU, which I kind of hope they do, it'd be a little sad, right? Like, oh, everyone we ever loved is in another universe, and we're not from here. Like, that's a little bit of a bummer, but, worked for Captain America. Why not for these guys? Also, just want to credit this image was painted by Wesley Burt, who's a concept artist and illustrator who works on Marvel stuff. And it's just incredible. This, for me, this one image is the best casting announcement that's ever been made, because there haven't really been. I'm trying to think if they've done anything like this. There have been certain casting announcements where there's been like a guy that comes out and it's like, this is Black Panther now, and you're like, oh cool, you didn't know that. A lot of that stuff gets leaked ahead of time, so I guess those announcements are fun in the moment, but I do think this tells you so much about the character of this team and what the vibe of this movie could be. I was never against the John Watts version of the Fantastic Four. I think John Watts did a really excellent job with these 3 Spider-Man movies that he worked on. I do think that out of everything in Phase 4, WandaVision to me is probably my favorite. It's one of my favorites. And it is the one that if there was one project that I could say, you gotta take whatever essence is in here and put it everywhere else. Not necessarily saying make everything else, make a show where Hawkeye goes to sitcoms, but in saying like this level of specificity, this production design, this vision, not just the character of the vision, but like the actual artistic vision, how different this feels from everything else on television right now, and the performances, which were incredible. if we could do that with all these other shows, if we could do Hawkeye and make it as stylish as the Matt Fraction comic, and like all these, not to say that Hawkeye wasn't good or anything like that. I liked Hawkeye. But that is what I think the MCU needs. The fact that Matt Shakman, who worked on WandaVision, is working on this, I think is a great sign. We have a couple of writers here, Josh Friedman, Jeff Kaplan, Ian Springer. It's unclear what their vibe is. Doesn't look like Ian Springer has a ton of credits. Not to say that that doesn't mean he's going to do a good job or anything. Jeff Kaplan, also not a ton of credits. Worked on something called Bert and Arnie's Guide to Friendship and The Last of the Great Romantics. Those are the two previous's. But then you have Josh Friedman, who has been working on quite a few things. He has the writing credit for Avatar: The Way of Water, The Foundation Show, Snowpiercer. That's solid. The War of the Worlds movie, obviously the screenplay. You can come up with the idea of that. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, he's also writing that, which looks interesting. But yeah, like Matt Shakman, I would say, is the only creative in this project right now who I would say, just looking at their body of work, tells you something about what this movie will be. And yeah, he directed and I believe produced Monarch: Legacy of Monsters, a show that in the beginning I liked. WandaVision, directed some of the great, directed an episode of Succession, some Game of Thrones. Like he has a really excellent track record. Oh, that's right. And he was the executive producer of Always Sunny for a lot of he produced 37 episodes of It's Always Sunny, starting in season 4 when it gets really good. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. Also, they switched the release dates here. So Fantastic Four will be going up, instead of being a May release in 2025, it will be a July release, I believe, which means it will go up against Superman. Now that is something. That month is going to be a month. The current production date, the current date, July 25th, 2025. And then Superman Legacy is July 11th, 2025. So I don't know what this means. I would imagine it's mostly a scheduling thing. I believe Pedro Pascal has to finish Last of Us coming up soon. I'm sure the other actors have other things they need to do. I think The Bear did just start season 3, or if it hasn't, it's going too soon. And I think that probably is why they changed it. I don't think this was like Marvel going like, all right, well, we're going to beat the Superman movie. But it will be interesting. Much like Batman v Superman and Civil War, were like, which one is going to win? Which one is the one that people really are psyched about? I remember seeing a video. I can't remember who made this. It might have been CinemaSins. Made a video. It was just like, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, you guys are not cool enough. Captain America is not cooler than Superman or Batman. What are you doing, Marvel, putting your movie out at the same time as the Batman movie? You're going to get crushed. Civil War is not going to even make any money compared to Batman v Superman. And then look what happened. So, like, no bets are safe anymore. Some are more safe. But I do think, like, just a well-reviewed, well-received Superman movie or Fantastic Four movie could work. I think it's all going to come down to reviews and just the quality of the thing. That's really all I have to say about this, besides the fact that it is great that the robot is in it and Ben looks fantastic. I bet within the next couple of weeks, we'll see something about whoever the villain is, Doctor Doom, Galactus, Terrax, one of the Heralds, who knows. I would love it if we were doing this Anya Taylor-Joy Silver Surfer thing, or maybe if she was playing Black Swan. That's something that I floated very recently, but we really don't. I don't think we need anything immediately. I would like to have a week. As fun as it is making these videos, I would like to have some time just to chill. And also, that's part of the trouble with this is like, do I want to make a casting Batman video? Yeah. Will it take me more than a month? It will. Is there any guarantee that in a month that character will not have been cast? There's no guarantee of that. It seems quite likely that he will. But I do think that gets at one of the other things, which is like, if I do these things 2 years early, there's a good chance that the new It guy will be a completely different actor. This person, Evan Moss Backrack, didn't come out of nowhere, but like the Bear really shot him up into the front of this pack. And then, I really did see everybody coming out for him in the last year because he's a great pick. But like, you don't want to do these too late and you don't want to do them too early. So we'll see what the next one is. There's a good chance it'll be Batman. I'm not sure. Thank you to everybody who has gone on this journey with me. I honestly don't believe it's real. I want to get the image. I would love to get the announcement, put it up somewhere because I think it's pretty cool looking. But yeah, overall, we did it. We're done. I mean, we're not done. There's so much more to do. But for now, this is pretty significant. We finally have a Fantastic Four.